Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Tim Fitzgerald. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody being in here. Over-unders are out. Can talk a little football. Circa over-under win totals have come out. So we are going to bring that to you today for each team in the Big 12. We'll go from top to bottom and discussing each team on what their win totals are going to be. I think I guess May is an okay time for it to come out. I'm pretty sure the transfer portal and all that stuff, people are at their schools. I know there could be a person here, a person there, but for the most part, rosters are set and ready to get this thing up and rolling. So we're going to talk about that today. So appreciate everybody being in here. Again, before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments section, people. Absolutely love the back and forth, and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So, but before we start all of that, Fitz, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just putting on my many different hats between different podcasts. It's fun. It's a lot of, doing a podcast repeatedly on the same topics is tiresome, but I love having this variety of podcasts that I'm a part of because I get to talk about a bunch of different things. And it's
right.
It's good for this old man's brain, Brien Hanley. It's good for this brain.
I gotcha. So, the Circa comes out with the win totals, the over-under win totals for basically for everybody. So they come out with the Big 12. There's some surprises on here. Before we even start down that road, nobody got predicted to win 9 or 10 games. No. I thought maybe there would at least be one team that had a 10 win. I didn't see that at all. And I'm like, did they think that the entire conference is just going to be parity? Or is this more of just a betting avenue for people to say, okay, we're not going to predict this, this, and this. We're going to give you a little window here to possibly win. Is that what is more going on here, Fitz?
I'm going to give Vegas a break on this one because while I believe at least one, if not two schools will win 10 games this season in this conference in the regular season or more, who that is, I have no clue.
Right.
So they throw up the 8.5 wins, 7.5 wins all over the conference, trying to fish to think that if you got like 6 schools in that heading, maybe 4 of them are going to be wrong.
Correct.
And they're going to hit the under. So we'll see how this all works out. But I understand what they're doing. If you're looking at the SEC, yeah, you put Georgia and Alabama up there at 9.5. Even though I think Alabama's kind of the opposite. They're overestimating to try to get money. I don't know, man. It's always Vegas manipulating the money, trying
Absolutely.
to move us around. But it's still an entertaining process to go through this, to say, I would bet the over, I would bet the under, or what I will often say, oh, hell no, I ain't touching that.
Right.
Because I'm not smart enough to decide. When I think a team's going to win 8, maybe 7 games, and they put it right at 7.5, I'm like, hell if I know. I really don't have feeling on this one.
Well, just for context, last year, 6 teams in the Big 12 won 9 or more games. 3 teams won 11 games. So
that's crazy.
The opportunity to be above all of that, I mean, is obviously there, and the probability, I guess that's a better word, not the opportunity, but the probability that teams are going to be above 9 wins is absolutely going to be there. Hell, you can't win the conference, not in my opinion, if you don't win 9 games. So there's that. But let's get into this. So first up, again, we're going from the bottom to the top with West Virginia. Circa says 5 games for West Virginia. New coach, lost everybody, just basically, how all that goes with, a new coach coming in. Look, you look at their schedule, not tough early. Robert Morris, Ohio, should be wins. And then it gets dicey. Pitt, Kansas. I mean, you go through the Big 12 and it's like, I don't know, man. 5 wins, Fitz. It seems like a lot with what West Virginia has coming back. I know Mountaineer fans are not going to want to hear that. But the one thing that I know since we started this channel about West Virginia fans, first of all, they're pretty knowledgeable about football, very passionate, but they're also realists. Like, you don't have those crazy – I mean, there's going to be crazy, outlandish fans everywhere. But for the most part, they understand what they have. And I think what Mountaineer fans understand what they have. They're optimistic, but 5 wins to me sounds about right. I wouldn't bet over that at all.
I wouldn't, but I still won't be surprised if they do it. I like Rich Rod a lot. I think he's a great coach. He proved it again at Jacksonville State, and I'm excited to see what he does. But kind of like Willie Fritz, the first year might be a climb, might be a little steep grade for him to get over that 5-win mark. But I think he'll get him there eventually. But I'm with you. Wouldn't touch this because I think 5 is the right number, and nobody wants to bet a push.
Correct. Absolutely. Next up, we got Oklahoma State. Down year for the Cowboys. Literally did not win a conference game. Fitz, they cleaned house. Got rid of everybody except Mike Gundy.
It's everyone else's fault.
Transfer portals, things that he had kind of a little bit reluctantly had been wanting to dive into. They dove into it a little bit. Win total's 5 here. I don't know. Again, you start looking at their schedule, not the same as early. They have UT Martin, then Oregon pops up on there. Then they get Tulsa, and then they dive into the Big 12. Look, I said it last year. I think Mike Gundy's an incredible football coach. But we're going to see this year, Fitz, if Mike Gundy still wants to coach college football. I think we're going to find out a whole hell of a lot about this team. I'm not going to bet the under on this. I would say over just because I'm a believer that I think that he wants to coach college football still. But we're going to find out this year whether he really does or not.
You know what? I think I'm of the opinion that what he had to do this past offseason, which was basically fire everyone but himself, and finally open up the portal and these changes across college football, that I understand his reluctance to accept. But the reality is, to win, you got to do it. And I think he figured that out. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's embraced this new world. And I think he's a great coach. I just think he let things slip a little bit by not using these resources like the portal. And also, I think he got distracted by it. I think the people out there complaining about how everything is can get themselves distracted and forget you still got to coach your guys. You still got to get them ready for the game. I thought they were horribly prepared last year. And I'm not going to blame the assistant coaches for that. I think Gundy failed the team and failed the program. And I don't, I know some people wanted him fired. I wasn't necessarily a fan of that, but I don't think this is going to correct it in a short term. I think they got bigger problems. And again, loading up with portal players to change your fate has not been proven to work.
Yeah, you still have to have some stability. The problem was he tried to do it and spit in the face of the changes that were coming, and it didn't work. Now he's trying to go the other direction. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I still like Gundy as a football coach. I think he's a good football coach, but we'll see. We'll see. Next up, we have UCF. Again, new coach, Scott Frost coming back to UCF. I think it was a great hire.
Yeah.
While the Rich Rod wasn't so, and I said it, and I still said it, West Virginia, desperation move. Okay. UCF, I don't think this is a desperation move because Scott Frost left kicking and screaming. Like, he didn't really want to leave, but he had to leave. And, the money was much better at Nebraska, all that good stuff. But him coming back, I think was, okay, you know what? I took my shot. I left. I never should have left because I didn't really want to leave. And now I'm back. I'm happy. I can rebuild those relationships. The win total here is 5.5. I would go under because UCF doesn't have much this year. It's going to take him a minute to get the program back. I like the hire, but I'm going under on 5.5.
Yeah, I'm going to be blunt here. Scott Frost's got something to prove to me. He does. He went to Nebraska. Things went wrong there, mostly because of him. And I know the schools put coaches in a bad position, but he kind of failed himself in Lincoln. He went home and kind of enjoyed that too much. I hope this hits his reset because God, he was good in Orlando the first time.
Yeah, he was.
But I can't bet it. I'd have to. Again, I warned you at the start. I'm going to avoid a lot of these, and this is one because I don't understand where Scott Frost is at as a person, and I don't think you can understand that until you go behind closed doors. So I got to see it to believe it on Scott. Sorry.
Gotcha. Totally understand. Like I said, they got a lot of rebuilding to do.
Yeah.
Gus Malzahn just took that program. I mean, gee, Merry Christmas, but different conversation, different day. Next up, we got Arizona 5.5. I have no quickly under. I have no idea what they're doing there. They made a bad hire. I think everybody at Arizona understands they made a bad hire. It's not going to get any better, and not in my opinion. I hope it does, because you know me, I don't hope anybody is bad. I just don't see it getting any better. Coach looks uninterested. Their schedule, again, Hawaii, Weber State, and then Kansas State because it's a non-conference game that they couldn't get out of, and then they get into the conference. Going to be tough for them to get 5.5 wins. I literally don't see that happening this year, Fitz.
Yeah, there's just no oomph behind that program right now.
No.
He came in and in 1 year sucked the life like a vampire out of Arizona football.
Yep.
I hope he remembers that he's supposed to coach his team before kickoff, though, and not go to tailgates. I can't get past it, honestly.
No.
And I don't know if he was told to do that by the admin or what, but that's when, as a football coach, you go, no.
Yeah.
No. No. My job is in that locker room on game day, not out trying to raise money or whatever he was doing. Maybe sneak a beer. I'm bothered by him. And I feel badly for Arizona fans who had began to enjoy quality, high-level football, and then it just gets erased. It just goes away. So we'll see what they have, but I'm sorry, I'd bet the under here.
You know, I just don't understand. I really don't. And when I saw that picture come out 45 minutes before kickoff, he's out in the parking lot talking. And again, smooths and boosters is part of the job description as a head coach. It 100% is. Not 45 minutes before a football game in the parking lot. Even if you did it inside the complex, whatever. Okay, I could even see that. But outside in the parking lot, I'm like, come on, man. What are we doing here?
Dude was basically surfing OnlyFans 45 minutes before his wedding.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, my goodness. I feel bad for Arizona fans, too, because you're right. Sucked the life out of the program because they had something going. And it immediately just did a tailspin and just, horrible. Moving on. Next up, Colorado. 6 wins. This is make or break. I guess I shouldn't say necessarily make or break for Colorado. This will see if Coach Prime is really interested. We're going to see if he's really interested. I know he got the new contract, and I know that he says that he wants to be there. We'll find out all of that this year. As you all know, I'm a Coach Prime supporter. Yep. I love what he has done with that program because, again, I grew up in a time in an era where Colorado was one of the top 5, top 10 teams in the country. They were just phenomenal. And so I yearn for those days again. And they may be getting back on the right track. 9 wins last year. 6 this year after they lose a Heisman Trophy winner, lose their starting quarterback. They lost some things. 6 wins sounds about right. This is one I think I would stay away from because a lot of people will say 6 wins, oh, they took a step back. I don't necessarily think they would, Fitz. If they get to 6 wins with the roster changes and things that they get, maybe they're not as good of a football team, but maybe the program is better because now, we lost superstars, but we're respectable. It's a little sustainability where you would expect, like Colorado a few years back, they go to the Pac-12 and then they win 3 games the next season, and then they're awful. If they can sustain, this is good for them. But I think 6 wins is probably about right.
I look at their schedule and they literally have those fulcrum games that
Yes.
if they open with a win against Georgia Tech, they're going one way. If they lose, they're going the other way. You get into Big 12 play. This is fascinating. They start with BYU, TCU, Iowa State.
They start with Houston first.
Oh, Houston, you're correct. Houston is before that Wyoming game. That game's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's at Houston. Both programs, one is going up, one is potentially coming down. We'll see where they measure up. But then they hit that stretch where there's so much uncertainty around Utah, Arizona, and West Virginia all in a row. I'm going to hit the under on this too, simply because I don't like their schedule. I mean, they probably scheduled Georgia Tech around 1923. I mean, that game's been on the schedule, and now all of a sudden Georgia Tech's
they're good.
Puts up a good season.
Yep.
Which Colorado did too. And I'll be blunt here. I don't know what Georgia Tech has coming back. I don't know what their thoughts are at this point. I haven't studied up on the ACC. Not high on my priority list, but I still got to hit that under. You're going to hiccup here and there, and even if you win the games, you probably should. You're going to be reaching for 6.
Yeah, the schedule's tough, but here's the thing: I think everybody's schedule is pretty tough in the Big 12 this year
because there's so many teams with the potential of being really good, or at least improved or highly competitive.
Correct.
That if you've got uncertainties about your team, every week's going to be an uncertainty because you're going. I mean, Arizona State could be great. BYU could be great.
Yep.
You go to Iowa State, Kansas State could be great. Could be great. There's more than that, but they also someone could absolutely tank, and that's the glory of betting on the Big 12. There is that kind of volatility that either you can benefit from or pay the price with.
Right. Next up, we got Cincinnati. Love-hate relationship with Bearcat fans. Old Big B has. Put them in the doghouse in football last year, and they started off like a house of fire, but fell off the face of the earth and didn't make a bowl game. I'm not a huge fan of Scott Satterfield. I think this is, I didn't want to say make or break year earlier. This is a make or break year for Scott Satterfield.
Absolutely.
You got to make a bowl game. At the minimum, you got to make a bowl game. 6 wins will get you there. That's what the over-under win total is. 6 wins. You start looking at their schedule. They start off with Nebraska, Bowling Green, Northwestern State. Then you get into the conference play. I mean, they play a lot of the good teams. I just 6 wins. I don't know, man. Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor at Utah, BYU at TCU. It will be tough to get 6. I'm going under, Fitz. I'm going under. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bearcat fans. I'm just – it is what it is.
I'm going to be honest here. I'm not even going to look at their schedule. I'm picking the under. I think Scott Satterfield just got lucky early last year, got a string of breaks. And, now it fell off. It came back to the mean. I'm not a fan, and I'm just going to be really straightforward. If he doesn't go to a bowl game, Cincinnati, you got to move on right now. You can't let him go to a third year, because the further away you get from the incredible program you had, the harder it will be to recover that.
Yep.
Because if you wait 3 years, you've overturned 60, 80% of your roster. In this modern day, it might be more than that. And now all strings to that former success, the memories of going to the playoff are all but lost, except in the heads of administrators and fans. And that makes the job even harder, because now the program's lost some momentum, but the standards haven't been lessened.
Right.
You got to fix this as soon as you can. And I'm telling you, if they get off to a bad start, move on. Take the bite. Just take the buyout, put an interim in place, and start looking. Don't mess around here.
Yeah, like I said, I feel, again, Cincinnati fans deserve better. They fought me on it last year, Fitz. They fought me tooth and nail and were mad. And I'm like, I'm just telling you guys, look, I've got experience with this coach. He is what he is. But whatever. Don't need to get into it. I'm going under 6 wins. Good luck, Bearcats. TCU 6.5. I think this is way low. I saw this And I'm like, hold on a second. TCU's going to have a good football team. 6.5, I think, is way low. I'm taking the over on it. And again, maybe Vegas is giving us one here, Fitz. Who knows? But 6.5 for TCU, I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah, I don't like that one at all. Don't like it at all.
Again, we're talking about a program that just a few years ago was highly successful.
Yes.
With the same coach.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it has dropped off. Maybe his own recruits aren't as good as the ones he inherited. I don't know. But I think this is so low. I think they're an 8-win team this year.
Here's the sneaky thing, Fitz. People don't realize TCU won 9 games last year. As much as people think that, oh, well, they weren't as good, and I get it, that bad loss to UCF at home and then getting smoked the next week out by Houston, people wrote them off. I wrote them off. They won 9 games last year. They fixed it. They turned the thing around, and I'm like, 6.5. Ugh. I mean, to me, that's easy. Now, granted, it's college football, so anything can happen. But I think if anybody's looking for a play, TCU at 6.5. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but yeah, this one's guaranteed.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I would. In fact, I might go do it right after this. But I love this. I think Vegas screwed this one up.
Yeah. I mean, I know what they're thinking. They have 2 Power 4 conference games against ACC teams in their non-con. But how good is North Carolina going to be? I think people are putting a lot of hope in a Bill Belichick football team who's never coached college football. We'll see. And then SMU, they get SMU at home. It's a rivalry game. We'll see how that turns out. They win both of those. You mix that in with Abilene Christian. Look out. I mean, we could be staring 9 wins in the face again for TCU. So I just
never
6.5 seems way low.
Never in that SMU series. That thing is getting some serious heat to it. Always has, but now that heat, because both teams are in power conferences,
correct,
is really picking up some national interest.
Right.
You can't end that series. That's what it's all about right there.
No. And their schedule is tough. Don't get me wrong. And maybe that's what people are looking at. You look at it, I mean, at Colorado, at Kansas State, Baylor, West Virginia, or at West Virginia, Iowa State, at BYU. So maybe people are looking at that and saying, okay, well, the schedule is a little tougher. But again, we just talked about it. Everybody's schedule is tough in the Big 12. I mean, it's all the same. There's some that are tougher than others. Don't get me wrong, but 6.5. Come on, man. Come on. That's pretty disrespectful, in my opinion. If
they lose both of those Power 4 non-conference games, this number might be more believable. Correct. 1, because then the math gets difficult to get to 7, but 2, because maybe they're not as good as we thought.
And that could be the case.
But
maybe people don't think. I just think they're going to be good.
If they win one of those games, I don't see this team not going 5 or more wins in the conference. I just don't. I believe in the quarterback. I believe in the coach, even though that faltered in 23. But it got, like you said, for all the problems they had last year at the start, they righted that ship and finished strong. And I think that momentum is going to help them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, look, everybody knows they got blown out in the national championship game and it took them a year to recover.
Yep.
They literally, it just took them an entire year to recover, but they recovered. So basically you could say it took them a year and a half to recover, but they did. And here we are. So next up, we got Houston at 6.5. I don't know, Fitz. This one seems, look, you know how I'm a believer in Willie Fritz. I'm an absolute believer. They 4 wins last year. You look at that schedule. I mean, early on, Stephen F. Austin, Rice, and then Oregon State. At Oregon State, I don't know, 6.5 seems a little high. I think I would go under because I think they're going to win 6 and go to a bowl. I don't think they get to 7, though.
I'm with you. I don't like this is a perfect number to put you in that conflict. Do you go, are they going to win 7 or are they going to win 6 or you know? I think they're going to be okay, but I'm not so sold on that I want to bet the over.
Right. I mean, it gets some games at home that Arizona at home, West Virginia at home, you know, they go to UCF, probably not going to be easy. Tech. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they get Colorado at home. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. If they can beat Colorado at home in week 3, then they got a shot. They got a shot. But if not, then I think it's 6 in a bowl game for Houston. Next up, Utah, 7.5. I don't know, Fitz. Look, I've been on record. I think Utah is going to have a bounce back year. I just do. Look, there's a lot of venom within them and the conference and all that stuff. Leave all that stuff aside. Just talk about the football. They get a new quarterback in. They believe in him. 7.5 might be low, especially you look at that non-conference, UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming. I mean, and I know it's at UCLA, but that doesn't matter. There'll be more Utah fans at that game than there will be UCLA fans. And going to Wyoming is never easy. And it's never easy. But having said that, at 7.5, if I were betting, I would probably stay away from this one. But if somebody were to ask me, I would say Utah's going over this.
That's my instinct too. But as I look at the schedule, they got no favors from the Big 12 in this.
They didn't.
Man, they got Tech.
Yep.
The opening Big 12 game for at least for Utah in Salt Lake City. So that thing's huge. We're going to find out a lot about Tech right there. Then they go to West Virginia, but next up is Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, Cincinnati. So those 2 games are big. Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas.
It's tough.
It's tough, man.
It's tough.
I don't want to bet against Coach Whittingham for a second year, though. I don't. I think that was an aberration. I think all great coaches might have that hiccup year, and I think that was his. I'm gonna say the over simply because I believe in Utah football more than what they did last year.
Yeah, let's just call it what it was. They didn't have a quarterback.
No,
they didn't have a quarterback. And quarterback gets hurt, and then they didn't have anybody behind them that could play competent football. And this is what you get. So, and that's what happened. This is kind of college football these days, though, Fitz, because with the transfer portal, you don't get those good football players that are just sitting behind guys anymore. They don't want to do that. It's like, I want to play now. So you don't get the Arch Mannings that are just willing to sit behind somebody that I'm possibly more talented than and just wait my turn. People don't want to do that anymore. And whether that's good or bad, that's a different conversation for a different day. That was Utah's problem last year. I just, like I said, I would probably stay away, but 7.5, if somebody pressed me, I would say, yeah, go ahead and take the over. Tough schedule, tough, but I'd still like the over. So next one, we got KU. KU is 7.5 too, Fitz. Now, KU's problem last year, they couldn't finish football games. You know, they had quarterback and offensive coordinator problems. They never meshed. Offensive coordinator just would not rely on a run game that worked. You know, it's not often that you say, hey, does it work? Yeah, they didn't rely on a run game that was actually working, kept putting it in a quarterback's hands that kept turning the football over. Defense could not get the stops that they needed at the end of football games, which is bad. That's a lack of focus when you continuously can't finish football games. I put that on the head coach. I always have. I always will when your team just continuously cannot finish. We'll see what happens this year. Get a new offensive coordinator. You look at their schedule, KU's schedule, Fresno, Wagner. The game is Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the game. 7.5. If they can beat Missouri, this is a good bet to take them to win 8 games because you look at their schedule. They have enough. They got enough talent there at KU. Again, their schedule's not easy. First part, I guess you could say, of the Big 12, their Big 12 schedule, if there's an easy part, it's West Virginia, Cincy at UCF.
They got a nice little entry ramp into Big 12. That's right. Don't they?
And that's why I say that game at Missouri is key because you do that, you could be looking at 6-0 right in the face. Then you go to Tech. Then you play K-State, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Iowa State, Utah. So the chances are there. They have the ability to do it, but they can't. They got to be able to finish football games. If they can do that, Kansas is a 9-win football team.
Absolutely.
So I would take the over on this if you are a believer in Lance Leipold. If you believe in him
and I am,
and how everybody talks about how good of a coach that he is, then I'd take the over. If you got questions, I would just sit this one out. So that would be my thing.
They've got an opportunity here. Again, that Missouri game is enormous.
Oh,
in many ways, not just for the season, but also for Kansas.
Yes.
For the program as a whole. That's beating an SEC team on their home field, even if it's a rival like that, is huge. K-State could not do it. And now Kansas has an opportunity to go into Columbia and get it done.
Right.
And, Missouri have new pieces. They've lost a lot. They're still going to be good. They've recruited exceptionally well, but they got to prove to me they can be consistent. You win that, man, you come home for back-to-back Big 12 home games after an off week against West Virginia and Cincinnati. Welcome to league play. You might as well field the softball team for those. Then you go to UCF, which is a winnable game. So, yeah, it gets more difficult there, but you could be sitting at 6-0 if you win at Missouri.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet that between playing Oklahoma State and Arizona and others, you're going to get there. You're going to get there.
That's what I'm saying. They've got an opportunity here, and maybe this is the year. Maybe last year it was too much expectations and people were talking about them too much and they felt like they were better than what they actually were. And maybe this is the year that Kansas gets to where people thought they were going to get to last year. They got the schedule for it. But again, that game with Missouri is huge.
Let's be blunt here, though, in the fact that if the new offensive coordinator can edit Jalen Daniels' game and get rid of some or most of those mistakes, boneheaded mistakes late in games, Kansas is going to be really good.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to throw one kid under the bus, but those late game mistakes consistently happening doomed KU last year. And if that one player can correct that issue, trying to do too much at key times, they're going to be fine. They're going to be good. This is a good coach. This is a good coaching staff, and this is a good roster. And it's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Can't make mistakes.
My thing is, I put that more on the offensive coordinator. Look, the kid's out there making the plays, and he's making the mistakes, so clearly he has to have a lot of blame. But you have a running game that was very, very good. Why not just run the ball more? I mean, it's okay to run the ball. I know we're in this. We got to throw it all over the lot. I know we're in that, but you can also just run the football and just win. That's all. You don't have to look. Doesn't have to have style points. If you win by 1 point, they still put a W next to your name and you move on. So hopefully, you can get it figured out. Next up, Iowa State at 7.5. Now, here's the thing for me. Iowa State, they lost a lot on offense. People are underestimating what they lost. They lost 2 NFL receivers that I think are going to have good careers in the National Football League.
Amen.
I don't know if they're going to be superstars or anything like that, but I think these are guys that can play in the National Football League 8 to 10 years. You lost that. That's difficult. They lost some defensive guys, but we've seen Iowa State be able to replenish talent all the time. That's just what they do. They replenish talent. So 7.5, be honest with you, Fitz, it seems a little bit disrespectful. It seems disrespectful. You look at their schedule. I know they play Iowa every year. I get that. But you get South Dakota, you got Arkansas State. And I know they open up, with Kansas State in Dublin. I get that. But you look, I just 7.5 just seems disrespectful to me. I think Iowa State's better than that. I would take the over.
I agree. I don't see Iowa State winning 7 games or fewer.
Yeah, no.
I just can't imagine that. Look, there's something I don't think the conference, let alone the nation, really appreciates, and that's the level of talent that Matt Campbell is consistently bringing to Ames. You look at these drafts, they're putting guys, not just in the draft, high in the draft, day 2 guys, if not day 1. And it's not just one group. It's been fairly consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done it again. Do they underperform their talent level? Maybe they do. You're putting that many guys in the NFL, and You've gone to one Big 12 championship, but this isn't going to be the drop-off year. It might be a lot of new faces, but their recruiting hasn't fallen off.
No.
I trust Matt Campbell is going to have a good team, and I would absolutely hit the over on this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would take the over on this one as well. I would take it. Next up, we got BYU, 7.5. Portland State, Stanford, East Carolina. Then you get into Big 12 play. Look, I think BYU takes a step back from what they were last year. They won 11 football games. I think they take a step back, but it's kind of what I was talking about Colorado. You take a step back, and that step back isn't 6 wins, by the way. I'm not saying that BYU's going back to 6 wins. I think they may take a step back from 11 wins, but again, I think they're respectable. They can get around 8 wins. I would take the over if I had to. I think 7.5 is a little low for them. Like I said, I don't think they're going to win 11 football games this coming up year. I don't think they're going to do that. They had a lot of things go right for them last year, but good for them. You took advantage of all the things that you could take advantage of, and then a tiebreaker get you hosed out of the Big 12 championship game and basically a spot in the college football playoff, which was crazy to me, but different conversation for a different day.
Yep.
But 8.5 or 7.5, I think they go over that.
Look, this all comes down to if you think BYU was an aberration last year.
Right.
Kalani Sitake's got them going in the right direction, and they've got momentum now because let's look at this. Portland State, win. Stanford, you better win. It's in Provo. Then you go to East Carolina, you should win that. This is how they open the Big 12. At Colorado, West Virginia, and Provo, at Arizona. You could be 6-0 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, there it is.
Yeah.
Utah. Mid-season. I love it. Huge game for both programs. And not just because it's a rivalry. Both these programs have something to prove. Utah that last year was an aberration, and BYU that last year was not an aberration.
Correct.
That's a huge game. Gets a little more spicy for a while, but then you close at Cincinnati and have UCF coming in. They're going to win 8 games. I believe in them. Let's also not say that everything went right for BYU last year. They were down to a parking lot attendant playing running back for part of the season because they got so decimated at that. And you know what? That parking lot attendant, all joking aside, they still had effective running game.
Yep.
They use their running game with their, sometimes with their fifth stringer better than Devin Neal was used at Kansas. It's hard to understand sometimes, but yeah, I hit the over on this for me.
Yeah, I think they have it going. That Utah game is going to be massive, like you said, for both teams. Can't wait for it. Best rivalry in the Big 12. One of the best rivalries in the country. And in my opinion, it's in the top 3. Can't wait for that football game. Next up, we got Baylor at 7.5. This is one that's the tricky one for me. Yeah. This is the trickiest one within the conference because Baylor, again, won 8 games last year, started off super shaky. And Dave Aranda got the program turned around. It was a testament to him, a testament to the kids for not quitting after losing the way that you did at Colorado, then getting your head beat in the very next week, but not quitting and continuing to fight to get to 8 wins. I mean, now you talk about a tough schedule, though, Fitz. And they start out at Auburn. They go to SMU.
Yep.
And then Samford, and then you get into Big 12, Arizona State, at Oklahoma State, Kansas State, at TCU, then you get Cincinnati and UCF, but then Utah, then at Arizona and Houston. I mean, the bottom half of the schedule obviously is easier than the top, but 7.5. You know what? If I was a betting man, I'd go over. I think Baylor's got it because they've got talent. That's the thing. They've got talent. They've got maybe what a lot of people think is the best quarterback in the conference. Now, I think that's a stretch, but he's a good quarterback. They've got talent there. I mean, 8.5 or 8 wins, Fitz. seems like it could be in the making. But that early schedule, tough.
One lesson we learned from last year is don't write them off if they get off to a bad start, because they finished strong.
Yes.
But that opening game with Auburn, who may not be very good, but has still got some cachet to playing Auburn, coming into Waco to start the season, brother, they got to win it.
Yeah, they do.
They do. Because then you go to SMU. You got 2 Power Fives in that non-conference now that SMU's in the ACC. Yeah.
SMU's good.
They're good. It's a challenging start for them. There's no doubt about it. You got Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, TCU. We'll know early. We really will.
It's tough, Fitz.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't touch this one. Look, I was impressed with how they finished last season, but it didn't necessarily sell me on the product totally. So I got to get a little more evidence to totally buy in. But there's a lot of reasons to think Baylor's going to be good. The schedule is not one of them.
Yeah, that schedule's tough. It's tough, but they got some talent. We'll see what happens. Moving on, look, we got Texas Tech is next at 8.5. This is where it jumps up in the Big 12, 8.5. Texas Tech fans, I'm going to tell you this. If you're confident in your football program and what they've done in the offseason, you should bet the over on this, because I've said this repeatedly. It's your time. It's your year. Enough of getting close, enough of getting there and then losing a game that you should win or you need to win to get the respectability that you're looking for. You got to do it this year. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You got the schedule. Look, you got Oregon State coming to you, the first 3. Then you get into conference play at Utah, at Houston, Kansas, at Arizona State. I mean, look, again, the schedule's not easy.
I think the schedule's wonderful for them.
Yeah.
When you look at that non-conference, you're one. I mean, come on, man. You're playing Pine Bluff and Kent State.
Correct. I mean, you got an opportunity.
Then you get Oregon State in Lubbock. Then you get Utah, Houston. By the way, those 2 logos are way too similar.
Similar?
Yeah, it kind of threw me off there. Kansas comes to Lubbock. Then you start Arizona State, but then Oklahoma State comes to Lubbock. Go to K-State. BYU comes to Lubbock. UCF comes to – how many home games they got? Comes to Lubbock. Then you go to Morgantown. There are 10 wins on this schedule for them.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to say it. I've said it all along. You have to be in Arlington this year. I don't want to hear any excuses. Now, granted, things happen. It's a football season, so I understand what can happen. I'm not going to bring up one of the things that could happen to your football team because I'm not jinxing anybody. But having said that, it's not that Joey McGuire is going to get fired. Nobody's saying that. But I'm tired of the coming close. I'm tired of, he's a really good coach. He's got things going. Well, at some point, if you get things going, when do you get to the crescendo? When do you get there? This has to be the year. I'm not saying there can't be any other years, but now's the time, Tech. 10 wins. I think, like I said, if you're confident, take the over. Am I? I'm not going to do that to you, the Texas Tech fans. I'm not going to. I would stay away. I just got to see it, Fitz. I got to see it. That's my thing. I believe they can do it, but I got to see it before I believe it.
You bought the roster.
Yep.
You got a great schedule.
Yep.
If they don't get it done, are they going to figure out it's the coach? Because there's no excuses here. This is a 9-win team or more. If they fall short of 9 wins, they don't just hit the under. That's a huge failure based on this schedule. Huge.
That's a lot of money to spend to get 8 wins.
Yep.
I mean, you didn't need to do that to get 8 wins. You're spending this kind of money because you're trying to win the Big 12. So go win the Big 12.
Don't go spend a lot of money and drive home a Kia.
Exactly. I just they gotta. It's their time. It's their time. So next up, we got Kansas State, 8.5 wins for Kansas State. Look, it's all over the place. To me, it comes down to 2 things for Kansas State: offensive line and Avery Johnson.
Yep.
I think the defense will be there. They'll replenish. but their offensive line wasn't up to snuff last year. If you paid any attention, it wasn't. I know they had DJ Giddens, and he was great. He was. But there were certain aspects of the running game that they just could not do. And when teams figured it out, they couldn't move the football. And Avery Johnson had his ups and downs last year. He did. O-line figures it out. Avery Johnson figures it out. 10-win football team. If they are mediocre to good, then not. They won't get to 10 wins. But looking at their schedule, yeah, I mean, look, it's a Big 12 schedule. I'd go over 8.5. I would. I think this is a minimum 9-win Kansas State football team. Minimum 9-win football team. And if it's not, then I will look at certain aspects. Obviously, we'll see, but we got to see where the problems may lie. It's just this is a 9 with the talent that they have. They got to win 9 football games for me at a minimum this year. Fitz.
I agree. Last year they weren't very good at tackle.
Yep.
And at receiver.
Yep.
And those are both positions that can greatly impact your quarterback's performance. So the question becomes this, and this will probably be my daily delivery for tomorrow because I wrote it down so I'll remember it. That's how my brain works. Were some of Avery's issues last year him or them? Because if it's him just making bad reads and bad decisions, we got to see it corrected to believe it. Right. But if it's the fact that he didn't trust his tackles to be comfortable in the pocket, and he certainly couldn't trust his receivers to be in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, that can shatter a quarterback. So we're going to find out probably pretty early on Avery's status. Everyone's raving about how good he is, how good the receivers that they brought in are, and that they've greatly upgraded the offensive line. Great. I hear the optimism every year. I tend to believe this optimism, but again, let's see it. Let's go see it. And that starts in Dublin. A great game between Kansas State and Iowa State. The winners had a huge advantage the rest of the season, in my opinion, because of the momentum you get out of that. It helps that your main non-conference schedule's at Arizona. You're not playing a team that's on the uptick right now.
Correct.
So, I think they'll hit the over because I bought into all that. And that could be, as some of you might say, is because I'm a homer. But I'm also a pretty adept observer of what Kansas State football has done in the past and what they should be able to do. And I trust that these receivers are going to give Avery a lot more help than he got last year.
Yeah, he's going to need it because, again, like you said, you can say the quarterback's not doing this, not doing that, and that may be true. But if your receivers, number one, can't catch the ball, and number two, aren't where they're supposed to be when it's time to throw the football, that's a problem.
There's a couple of those.
A problem. So, last up on the list, Arizona State. Arizona State was a surprise of college football last year. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that. Can they do it again? 8.5 is the over/under win total for them. Look, they go to Mississippi State. That is their big non-conference game. And Mississippi State, let's just put it out there, they stink. They got good athletes, don't get me wrong, but that's not a good football team. So they should be able to go there and win. Texas State, I mean, everybody thought that, and it was a good game last year, but Arizona State's better than them. They get them at home. They get into conference play. The conference, again, it's a Big 12 schedule. They got an opportunity. They play Tech at home. They go to Iowa State. They play at Utah. They play TCU. They get Baylor. I mean, it's a Big 12 schedule. So 8.5 seems attainable. Losing Cam Scatterboo is going to be huge, but I think they lean into their quarterback even more this year. They get their big play wide receiver coming back. He missed the end of the year last year because of an injury. I'm a believer in Arizona State, Fitz. I am. So I would take the over on this, and I'm not even batting an eye. I'm a believer in Arizona State. Now, I could have egg on my face. It could be a one-year aberration. But I believe in what they're doing. I believe in that culture. I believe the fan base is behind it. They were just waiting for something to get behind, and they've got the ability to continue this. I'm a believer. I would take the over.
I believe everything you just said. I love Kenny Dillingham. I think they're talented. I love quarterback situation. But you know the crush I had on Cam Scatterbo as a football player. Cam Scatterbo made everything so much more easy for a play caller and a quarterback.
He did.
They won a game without him, an important game. So they're capable of it, but without him, unless, look, I'm not up on Arizona State's running back depth, unless they've got some guy in the wings that's going to replicate what Cam Scatterbo was able to do. I think he was a generational type player, honestly. But if they do, they're going to be okay. But if not, the way they sequence play calling is going to have to totally change, because the defense won't be peeking at that running back every damn play, because if you weren't committed on every play to stop Cam Scatterbo, you weren't going to stop Cam Scatterbo, and you're going to get an L. So when you lose someone that is such a centerpiece to what you're doing on offense, I'm concerned. I still believe in Arizona State, but I probably would avoid this one, because I can see 8 wins on this schedule. But boy, you start creeping up there. They're going to have to prove it again to me. They're going to prove it post Scatterbo.
Gotcha.
His name. He's got the best name. Scatterbo. Great player.
Absolutely.
Holy crap. Great player.
Yeah, he was. He absolutely was. So that's it, people. That's what we got. The over-under show. Like I said, Circa came out with their over-under totals. Me and Fitz kind of broke this down. I like what they're doing here. I like it. So we will find out more as far as the doorbell rang at my house. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. So, but either way, thank you guys again for showing up. Appreciate you guys again. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.